What's going on, guys? Cole here. So I wanted to kind of have a different setup, kind of have a different setup for the camera and everything, but I kind of want to have a different kind of video today and have more of a discussion type of video and really ask you guys if you guys have thought about periods of your life that are similar to what I have been kind of pondering on a lot today. So the overall concept is being bored with success, and your success actually becomes failure. And the overall thought is that um, you don't feel like you're being challenged, and everything somewhat is relatively easy, or something might seem hard at the time, and then later on you look back and realize that you really weren't that challenged. And so the best way to find a challenge for yourself is to strive to the point of failure. It's kind of like when you're in the gym, and if you just do such a light weight that you never go to muscle failure, or are you actually going to push yourself to muscle failure to try and develop yourself more and to grow more? That's the general gist of it. But the backstory and kind of where the context behind the thought is, like, I was raised in a pretty I wasn't like an army brat, but I was raised in a military family where the vast majority of the men in my family that could serve did serve, and my dad liked to honor all those service members that were in the family, and so I constantly looked around and saw this military stuff. And my dad was a guy who always wanted to go to airborne school but didn't get the chance. If you want to hear that whole backstory, that's on the Veteran to Veteran podcast page. You can check that out. That's episode 1. He talks all about it, but he always wanted to go to airborne school and become a paratrooper, and he never got the chance to. He got orders, but then his orders were ultimately canceled, and which is why he always encouraged me to go and pursue the airborne lifestyle, if you want to call it that. And so I did that, and a big motivation for why I did that was for him. But he always hyped up the airborne infantry as being, like, if you're in the United States Army and you're an airborne infantryman, you're a paratrooper. Those are some of the baddest dudes out there. And for myself, looking back, I feel like a lot of those things might have been somewhat challenging a little bit, but not really overall. And if I'm exceptional at anything, it's being exceptionally average. In any of my peer groups, I'm not the best at anything in comparison to any of the people that I work with. I'm incredibly average and don't really excel at anything. And if I can be pretty critical of myself, I lack discipline a lot of the times, and I can be pretty lazy and look for the easy way out or make excuses for myself. And so I don't see myself as this hard charging, like hardcore mindset of discipline and fitness and all that. But when it comes to a lot of the things that I've done in the military, I haven't actually found like a real challenge in it, and it's gotten to the point to where it's pretty disappointing. Now, I do have higher aspirations and climbing certain ladders of the military soon, but as for right now, where I'm at, and kind of looking ahead, I kind of wonder, am I going to have this same feeling the further I go into my military career? Am I going to think that something is really challenging and ultimately going to be really rewarding, just to get on the other side of it and realize that it wasn't that hard? And how else could I say it? It's like, I feel like because of how average I am, if I can go do something and be successful, it couldn't have been that hard. Especially if I don't find it that challenging in the moment, how hard is it really? It can't be that big of a deal if I can go and do it without trying too hard. And it's not like a humble brag, because I really, like, I'm not good at running. I've never maxed a PT test. I've never been the stud in any scenario. but I've ultimately never really struggled too much. Like getting into my Lurch unit, getting into my scout platoon. There were points where I felt humility. I was humbled a little bit, but ultimately looking back, none of that stuff was really that difficult. And so I got a hold of one of my buddies today, who's a Special Forces Green Beret, and asked him kind of how he felt, if he felt a similar way. When we're on one side of the fence, like in the airborne world, in the 82nd Airborne, and we see these Special Forces guys walking around brag, and you look at them and you're like, man, those guys are gods among men. Those dudes are the real deal. And he, having been a person who's gone through the Q course, and he's on the other side of that whole process and has a Green Beret, I asked him, is it similar to that? Like, we looked at people in that world as like these gods among men, and now you're in that group. Are you kind of like disappointed in what you found, or like looking back, was it as hard as you thought it was going to be? And which he said he like agreed that it wasn't as hard as he really thought it was going to be. And when I asked, does it kind of like lessen the value of it? It's really like it kind of does. He said that it did kind of like lessen the value a little bit. And I don't want to say that it wasn't like obviously like a career achievement or anything by any means. But for me personally, it's like, for example, the last thing that I did that I was looking at as a challenge was air assault school about a year ago. And I have a lot of buddies who've been to air assault school, and I have some buddies who've passed air assault school, but I know more people that have failed air assault school than I know people that have passed. And so I was like, this is going to be a challenge. I'm really going to try really hard to be one of those guys that passes it. And I got there, and nothing was really all that difficult. And on the other side of it, well, at least in the moment, that one moment of success, that graduation day where everybody's there, I'm getting the wings pinned on me, the ceremonies, all that stuff is very fulfilling. And then on the other side of it, it's like, that wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't really what it's all hyped up to be. And so it just like, I'm kind of like asking the few viewers that might see this, going through life, have you ever gotten to the point where you feel bored by your successes? And have you ever thought about how a failure might feel? Like if you go through something and you try and you fail, how would that feel? Because at this point for me, I really want to find something that's going to push me to my limits. And the best way to clearly define when you've found your limit is when you fail something. When you just can't hack it, when you are not good enough to make it. And it almost seems like in order to develop yourself further and progress as an individual, you need to find something that you fail your first time around, so that it pushes you into personal progression and growth, and forces you to better yourself to overcome that. And then I feel like the success would be that much more rewarding. So yeah, I want to know what your guys' take is on that. I didn't want to make that all about me. I had asked, God, there's just dog hair floating all around. I wanted to ask my buddy and see how he felt, if he could relate to that from the perspective of a Special Forces guy. And it was kind of shocking somewhat to hear that he did kind of feel the same way. And it's really like, for me, at least personally, I'm not that great at anything. So if I can do this, then it can't be that hard. And so if it's not really that hard, then why would it be that fulfilling and rewarding? If there's something that I went and did and just failed outright, that would significantly increase the value of that thing, so that I'd have to go back to the drawing board and go back and better myself and work up to going back and trying again to overcome that challenge. But I can't say that I've done everything by any means. I haven't gone to Ranger selection. I haven't gone to Special Forces selection. So a lot of people might comment and be like, well, you just haven't done anything hard enough yet. That's a fair point. But my question still remains. I'm curious as to what you guys think, if you guys have ever had any kind of feeling of this. And it's just kind of an interesting dynamic to frame it that way mentally, that success becomes disappointing and failure is the exciting thing. And I would like to think that if you see things that way, then you're bound to ultimately be successful in life, because you're never going to settle for lesser achievements. You're going to continue to strive. The goalposts are going to continue to shift. You can celebrate your success in the moment, and then the next day that you wake up, you realize that success is behind you and you overcame it, and now what's the next thing? And continuing to find the next goal and the next hardest thing to push you to your limits. And I think finding those limits is ultimately what makes someone a better individual. So I think I'm probably going to start doing a little bit more discussion videos like this. I think when it comes to the Veteran to Veteran podcast page, by the way, shameless plug, if you haven't checked that out, that's my other YouTube channel. Just podcasts with veterans talking about their experiences. But I'm probably going to kind of shift the podcast because it's kind of hard to get guests right now. Like through the holiday seasons with COVID and all that stuff and working around people's schedules, I'm probably going to start shifting this channel more into discussions, and then probably making the podcast channel more of just me by myself talking about things related to the military, or maybe telling a few of my stories, or something that's been on my mind that's related to the military, and maybe I can connect one of my experiences to it. But that's all I got today. If you like these kind of discussions, like the video, subscribe. I got all kinds of other military-related stuff when it comes to gear, reviews, school tips for the military. If you want more discussions like this, let me know. Please respond to this question and let me know what you think. I would hope that I would actually get some kind of constructive comments that actually contribute to the conversation, and not just stuff telling me that I'm just not trying hard enough, or I'm not seeking out big enough challenges, which is a fair point. But, I'm acknowledging that now, so we don't need tons of comments of that. So I hope you guys can contribute. Subscribe, all that jazz. Check out the Vet to Vet podcast channel. And I'm sorry that I haven't made a video in a long time, but we've been moving. We got a dog, settling in. And the holidays are hitting us, and I'm working 6 to 7 days a week right now, so it's just crazy, and there's not a lot of time to get videos out. So I apologize. I'm going to try and have more stuff like this come out a little bit more regularly, and I hope that you guys can be patient and bear with me. So I hope you guys liked the new little setup that I got going here. I dig it. I can just relax and be comfortable and just talk about my thoughts, and that's about all I got for today. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.